mothers and fathers who've lost a child to online harm. However, Newsweek reports it's now been passed over to another organization called Parents.
Right now, Meghan Markle is being framed as a complete implosion. Debt rumors, lawsuits, a collapsing career. The headlines are relentless, dramatic, and designed to make it feel like everything is falling apart at once. But when you actually slow down and trace where these claims are coming from, the picture shifts in a much more uncomfortable direction. Because the panic narrative doesn't fully line up with reality. The lawsuits, the money fears, the so-called downfall are being packaged as one big collapse. But behind the noise, there's a deeper issue that almost no one wants to say out loud. And it's not about bankruptcy or legal ruin. It's about instability. Over the last 5 years, Harry and Meghan have gone through 11 different publicists, not assistants, not interns, senior-level PR professionals. That number alone is staggering, even by Hollywood standards. Publicists are trained to survive chaos. They manage egos, scandals, non-stop pressure, and hostile media environments for a living. So when experienced professionals keep exiting the same client relationship, it points to something far more serious happening behind closed doors. The most recent departure happened in December 2025 when Meredith Maines left after just 10 months. This wasn't an inexperienced hire. She came in with major credentials from Google and Hulu, exactly the kind of background meant to stabilize a brand, not abandon it midstream. Around the same time, their US-based PR firm, Method Communications, quietly chose not to renew its contract. Soon after, multiple top-tier American agencies reportedly declined to represent them altogether. Not maybe later, not let's revisit. Flat refusals. According to insiders, the problem wasn't lack of availability or conflicts of interest. It was a combination of extreme demands, tight control, and resistance to paying elite-level fees. In high-end celebrity PR, reputation management isn't cheap. A-listers understand that protecting a brand costs serious money. But sources say this situation carried a different energy entirely. Those systems don't function on bargain budgets, and they definitely don't function when professionals aren't allowed to do their jobs. And money wasn't even the biggest issue. Former staff describe a working environment marked by constant shifts and zero clarity. One day there was a clear direction. The next day everything pivoted without warning. In crisis management, consistency is everything. Strategies only work when clients commit to a plan and allow it time to breathe. When priorities change overnight, even top-tier teams are reduced to constant damage control instead of building anything sustainable. That same pattern appears inside their charitable organization, Archewell. From its launch in 2020 through 2024, at least 18 staff members reportedly exited. In December 2025 alone, longtime advisor James Holt walked away after nearly a decade of involvement, while 3 junior employees were quietly laid off just before the holidays. Today, the foundation is said to be operating on a skeleton crew, with one senior figure juggling multiple responsibilities and minimal support. Financial filings reinforce the strain. In 2024, Archewell reportedly spent $5.1 million while bringing in just $2.6 million, draining reserves to stay afloat. A significant portion of expenses went toward overseas travel, and more than $1 million in payments to outside consultants, while direct charitable grants remained relatively modest. Against that backdrop, promoting a London-based communications staffer to oversee operations raised eyebrows. Managing US-focused media from the UK introduces an 8-hour time gap, which severely limits real-time response during American news cycles. The move was widely interpreted as cost-cutting rather than strategic expansion. And without strong PR infrastructure, even small issues can spiral quickly. Negative stories linger. Brand partners hesitate. Companies don't want controversy bleeding into their consumer base. When there's no trusted team defending the brand, new projects struggle to gain traction, and messaging ends up echoing into an empty room. When Harry and Meghan first partnered with Netflix, everything aligned perfectly. In December 2022, their docuseries pulled 81.6 million viewing hours in its first week, becoming Netflix's biggest documentary debut ever. Viewers tuned in out of pure curiosity. It felt exclusive, personal, and revealing. But once that curiosity was satisfied, interest dropped sharply. Follow-up projects never came close to matching that momentum. Content featuring high-profile names like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Gloria Steinem failed to crack the top 10 anywhere. The issue wasn't production quality. It was audience alignment. Viewers didn't come looking for leadership lectures or cultural commentary. They came for personal drama. Even Heart of Invictus in 2023, centered on wounded veterans and a cause Prince Harry genuinely supports, reportedly drew only around 300,000 views. Despite its emotional weight, it struggled to find an audience. part of the problem was focus. The series never clearly decided whether it was about the athletes or about Harry's role behind the scenes, and that lack of clarity made it difficult for viewers to connect once the initial release window passed. Then there was Pearl, the animated series Meghan developed about a young girl inspired by influential women from history. It never aired. Netflix canceled it mid-production during company-wide budget cuts in 2022. That cancellation mattered because it was meant to demonstrate creative range beyond their own personal story. Without it, the content slate began to look thin and repetitive. With Love, Meghan was another attempt to broaden appeal. The lifestyle series was polished and featured recognizable names like Mindy Kaling and Roy Choi. Early 2025 numbers showed about 25.5 million viewing hours and roughly 5.3 million views, which sounds respectable until you zoom out. The show ranked 389th among all Netflix titles that year, far outside the range that drives subscriptions or sustained buzz. Polo, the 5-part docuseries executive produced by Harry, followed a similar trajectory. By mid-2025, it had reportedly attracted around 500,000 viewers out of Netflix's more than 260 million subscribers. Critics described it as dull and overly focused on wealth and privilege, and momentum never built past launch week. Spotify told the same story. After signing a reported $20 million deal in 2020, Meghan's podcast Archetypes launched in 2022 with major guests like Serena Williams, Mariah Carey, and Paris Hilton. The concept was clear and professionally executed, but after one 12-episode season, Spotify ended the partnership in 2023. Executives later suggested the output didn't justify the investment. That's the pattern repeating itself. One massive curiosity-driven hit followed by rapid drop-off. Once the royal story was told, audiences didn't stay for lifestyle branding, leadership messaging, or niche content. And that's where the real problem begins, because the industry isn't labeling them villains. It's doing something far worse. It's losing interest. What people inside the industry are really saying is far colder than any tabloid headline. It's not "they're finished." It's "nobody's watching anymore." And in entertainment, when attention fades, money follows. That's the real shift happening now. Harry and Meghan aren't drowning in catastrophic debt. That part is exaggerated. But their income has dropped sharply while their fixed costs remain extremely high. That gap, not bankruptcy, is the pressure point squeezing everything else. Back in 2020, their combined deals with Netflix and Spotify were publicly valued at around $120 million. On paper, it looked endless, like a permanent safety net. But those agreements were never infinite. They were time-bound, milestone-based contracts designed to deliver content over a fixed window. And now that window is closing. Spotify was the first domino to fall, and it set the tone for everything that followed. The reported $20 million deal signed in 2020 resulted in just one podcast, Archetypes, which launched in August 2022 and ran for a single 12-episode season. By June 2023, Spotify walked away. Whatever money hadn't already been paid was simply never coming. That very public breakup didn't just end a revenue stream. It sent a signal. In media, once a major platform exits, others start asking uncomfortable questions. Why did it end? Was the output worth the investment? What went wrong behind the scenes? Those questions quietly follow talent into every future negotiation. Now Netflix appears to be heading toward the same conclusion. Their overall deal is expected to expire in 2026, and so far there's been no renewal, no replacement agreement, and no major new slate announced. Insiders say the original contract included ongoing producer fees and development funding that quietly delivered millions each year, even when projects weren't actively releasing. If that ends, the cushion disappears. Any future Netflix work would likely be project by project, without guaranteed income or long-term security. Harry's memoir Spare was a massive hit in 2023, selling roughly 1.4 million copies across major English-speaking markets. Celebrity memoir advances often land between $20 and $40 million, making it a huge one-time payout. But that's the key phrase. One time. Follow-ups almost always sell less once the shock factor is gone, and the biggest revelations are already public. While income has slowed, spending hasn't. Their Montecito home cost $14.65 million and reportedly requires close to $1 million a year just to maintain. Property taxes alone topped $112,000 in 2023 and continue to rise. Add insurance, utilities, and upkeep on an 18,000 square foot estate, and it starts to resemble the operating costs of a small luxury hotel. Real estate experts note that homes of that size typically require full-time cleaners, groundskeepers, and maintenance staff year-round. Then there's security. Private protection for figures at their level is estimated between $2 and $4 million annually, sometimes higher depending on threat level. And unlike other expenses, this isn't optional. High visibility combined with constant controversy makes security non-negotiable. On top of that are business and legal costs that don't disappear just because staff is trimmed. Even with Archewell operating lean, professional fees, compliance, and basic operations can still rack up hundreds of thousands per year. Harry's ongoing legal battles with British media groups, along with his appeal over UK security funding, come with substantial legal bills that don't pause. Conservative estimates now place their annual spending between $5 and $7 million, possibly more. With major income streams drying up, that likely means dipping into savings while scrambling to build something new. Meghan's lifestyle brand generated early buzz, with products selling out quickly. But consumer brands require heavy, upfront investment, long timelines, and sustained demand. Early sellouts don't equal instant profitability. Their foundation now requires funding rather than generating it, and recent restructuring points to tighter budgets across the board. Speaking engagements can still bring in large checks, but their polarizing public image limits how often those opportunities arise. They're not broke. They still own valuable assets, but this is a familiar celebrity pattern. Fast money, high fixed costs, and shrinking inflow. So where did the internet go wrong? The viral claim that they're $100 million in debt comes from a basic misunderstanding of how entertainment deals work. That number was never personal cash, never a loan, and never money owed back. It was the reported total value of Netflix's planned spending over several years, covering production costs, development budgets, crew salaries, marketing, and talent compensation through their company. Headline deal numbers don't land in someone's bank account. In deals like this, personal compensation typically accounts for only 10% to 25% of the total value, spread out over time. Still substantial, but nowhere near the figures circulating online. When the Netflix deal ends in 2026 without renewal, it doesn't mean a financial explosion or debt crisis. It means a contract ended exactly as designed. Netflix has been stepping back from long exclusive deals across the board, shifting toward project-based funding. Many creators have been affected, not just them. Another rumor that refuses to die is the idea of sentencing, and it's rooted in legal confusion, not fact. Meghan Markle has not been criminally charged, convicted, or sentenced. There is no criminal trial, no judge, no punishment. That language spreads because crime-style framing drives clicks. Dramatic legal terms trigger emotional reactions, and reactions fuel algorithms. Once engagement starts, exaggeration gets rewarded. Repetition slowly turns fiction into assumed truth. Prince Harry's civil court battles only add to the confusion. In early 2025, he reached a major settlement with a media company over unlawful information gathering reportedly worth tens of millions of pounds. He brought the case. He won. The company paid. But constant talk of lawsuits creates the illusion of wrongdoing even when none exists. Right now, Harry has two active civil actions, one privacy case heading toward 2026, and one appeal related to the removal of UK-funded security. In both, he is the plaintiff, not a criminal defendant. What's important to understand is this. These situations are civil and commercial in nature. Money, contracts, and reputation are what's at stake here. Not prison, not criminal punishment. When people online talk about sentencing, they're not describing anything that exists in reality. What they're actually reacting to is something far less dramatic but far more common in Hollywood. It's market judgment. PR agencies choosing not to renew contracts, streaming platforms deciding not to extend deals, brands quietly keeping their distance. Those are business calls, not legal penalties. No courtrooms, no police involvement. Just companies deciding where risk outweighs reward. And while that absolutely impacts income, reach, and influence, reputational damage isn't the same thing as legal collapse, and it can still be repaired with the right decisions. The real story isn't imaginary crimes. It's why so many doors are closing at the same time. And here's the uncomfortable part most people don't want to admit. Millions keep sharing headlines they never stop to verify. False claims about massive debt or criminal punishment explode online because outrage travels faster than accuracy. That's how the machine works, and right now it's running hot. Humans are wired to fixate on rule-breaking and consequences. Thousands of years ago, tracking who crossed the line helped communities survive. Today, that same instinct fuels obsession with celebrity downfalls. Add royalty to the mix and the reaction multiplies. Stories connected to the House of Windsor hit harder. Meghan and Harry started at the very top, and there's a strange satisfaction some people feel watching powerful figures struggle. That's classic Schadenfreude. The higher the pedestal, the stronger the fall feels to observers. Their choices made the narrative irresistible, leaving royal duties, chasing independence, publicly clashing with long-standing institutions. To many viewers, it looks like self-sabotage. Every move sparks the same debate. Is this a reset or another step downward? The story stays sticky because it's morally complicated. Meghan experienced real racism and intrusive media coverage, and that earns genuine sympathy. At the same time, critics point to entitlement, tone-deaf messaging, and inconsistent decisions. Same facts, completely different reactions. Add inherited power, generational wealth, and ancient institutions, and emotions spike even higher. Her identity as a biracial woman inside a historically white system adds another layer of tension. Then there's the wealth contrast. A multi-million-dollar mansion paired with messaging about struggle. That gap fuels fascination and resentment at the same time. Parasocial attachment seals it. Audiences feel like they know them. So when controversial choices happen, it feels personal, like watching friends make bad decisions. That keeps people clicking, arguing, and sharing. Content creators understand this perfectly. Words like sentenced or $100 million in debt aren't accidents, they're bait. Algorithms reward emotion, not accuracy. So what's actually happening? The truth sits in the middle. This isn't the clickbait fantasy of total collapse, but it's not a clean comeback either. The next 6 to 12 months are critical. Financial decisions, career focus, family dynamics, all of it matters now. One major pressure point is Harry's UK security appeal in early 2026. If protection is restored, it removes a major obstacle to returning to Britain. That could reopen doors with King Charles and potentially allow Meghan to attend the Invictus Games in Birmingham later that year, their first major UK appearance together in a long time. If the appeal fails, continued absence stays justified, but it also risks locking them into a permanent victim narrative that fuels more backlash. Money is another ticking clock. Without new long-term income streams, lifestyle adjustments or uncomfortable partnerships become more likely. Spending millions each year adds up fast, and with children involved, the emotional stakes rise even higher. Family relationships can still be repaired, but that window doesn't stay open forever. If a turnaround happens, it won't come from louder messaging. It will require real change, consistency, focus, discipline, and letting professionals actually do their jobs. Another option is lowering visibility and rebuilding credibility in one lane instead of chasing everything at once. The most realistic outcome? A gradual fade. Still famous, still discussed, but drifting without major momentum as public curiosity cools. This isn't about fake debt or imaginary sentencing. It's about two people who bet everything on a strategy that didn't land and are now dealing with consequences they didn't expect. So what happens next? A reset, a quiet rebuild, or a slow decline? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like the video, share it, subscribe, and click the next video. Because this story isn't done yet and you won't want to miss what comes next.